All right. Well, good morning. Good morning. We're here to talk about it live with Frank and Manny, and we got our special guest in the studio this morning with us again, Raul Reyes. Mister, how you doing, sir?
Guys, it's good to be here.
Good to see you. And so we got a lot to talk about here today, and things are happening legally split rapidly here in this country, especially with this administration. You know that it's just amazing to me what's happening here. This. Right now with this current administration, they're talking about, of course, the big news is Title 42 going away in May. That's huge, folks. I don't think a lot of people realize, guys, how huge that is. I mean, right now there's zero enforcement of the border, of any border policy right now, and then that seems to be taking away the last strand of any type of border policy, right?
Yeah, and we're in trouble here. Let me tell you something. For everybody who knows, I'm from Del Rio, Texas, so it's great to be back here with Manny and Frank. And of course, you guys are always posting information and educating folks on what's happening on the border, which is fantastic. And I'm here today because we're going to be down on the border, and we're going to show some of the things that are happening. We're running a state, state level, not statewide, but a state Senate race campaign. We're in a runoff against former Senator Pete Flores, who used to have the district here. And what we want to do today is just have a conversation about, especially Title 42. What is that, May 23rd, it goes away?
Something like that, yeah.
And so, look, and you guys know it better than I do. I mean, I'm talking to two former Border Patrol agents here, retired. One's, 55 years put together here. By the way, he's got two
kids. He's
got, I called him old. That's what I did. And
it's a double.
Yeah. On any given day, Border Patrol out here can sustain 1,700 people across the border. They're experiencing something like 7,000 a day. When you get rid of Title 42, we're looking at 17,000 to 20,000. And here's the thing, guys, and this is why we're here. What do we expect from the Biden administration? And absolutely zero. In fact, they're purposely breaking this border down. It's not even open borders. It's no borders. I've used that before. The guys here as well. And so now it's time for Texas to act. And what happens? 3 days ago, our great governor volunteers buses to take these folks to D.C. You know, and Frank, you and I have discussed this before. It's a feel-good, show of we're going to do something and sock it to the federal government. But then you look at the little fine print on the bottom and it says voluntary, right? Yeah. And it's a mess.
And so the thing about it, folks, and look, I'm just going to start out this morning just shotgun blazing away. We've got the elephant, and the Republican elephant. We've got the Democrat jackass. I've talked about how we've got. We've got the rhinos, the ostriches, those people that are sticking their heads in the sand and elsewhere as they ignore what's going on. But now we got the seals, guys. Yeah. We have these seals who just in unison clap this gimmick by Governor Abbott. Look, folks are saying, great, poke Biden in the eye. You're poking him in the eye. Great, ship him into D.C. So what you're saying is that you are clapping and oohing along to further aiding and abetting the invasion into our country. You're clapping and cheering as illegal aliens are prospectively at this point, it's got to be voluntary. But just the fact that a governor of a border state like Texas, over 1,250 miles of border, would say, yeah, we're not going to repel him. We're not going to turn him back. We're not going to secure our borders. We're not going to defend our sovereignty. We're not going to fight for our future. We're not going to fight for against the increased tax load that this is going to cost. No. We're going to give him rides into D.C. because we're going to poke Biden in the eye. Look, you instead of poking Biden in the eye, why don't you punch him in the mouth and say we are going to repel these people at the border. We're going to turn them back. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, and then listen, in our state campaign run for the Senate, folks, and being from Del Rio, people, you see the passion Frank has. And for everybody who's listening in from the 13 counties that make up SD 24, now you understand why we're a little upset. We're in our hometown here in Del Rio, and it is literally on fire, and it's literally going to be nuclearized once Title 42 goes away. Yeah. And all of our friends are Border Patrol agents, lots of friends in DPS. We've got a few friends that are part of the Ranger team, Texas Rangers. National Guard. They're all doing the best they can here. And we're playing games in Austin. That's what's happening. And I don't know where Dan Patrick is. He sponsors my my opponent, Pete Flores, who was weak on the border. And this is why I'm here today, because the same passion that Frank has and Manny and everybody else, we're all a little pissed off at the world right now because nobody seems to care about this border, and they're playing games, Frank, is what it is. And we do have a lot of SEALs out there clapping as if this is a great thing. Well, we're just wasting taxpayer money, Manny, because what's happening is we're literally going to pay to send people to Washington, D.C. And, oh, by the way, the mayor already in D.C. said, we're not going to let you in the city limits anyway. And so this has turned into one of those ridiculous things. And then, of course, if you can explain the lighting of the river, that was another thing that
he talked about at these landings, and what we call a landing, folks, is, when they're coming over, they land, kind of like an airplane lands at the airport. Well, these people are landing on the U.S. side, and so we call them landings. So part of what he proposed was to light up these landings with spotlights. It's not a deterrent.
Yeah.
What it is, it's just going to light the way for you to just, know, hey, this is a safe crossing point. When you come to where the lights are, there will be National Guard, perhaps DPS, waiting to receive you. They'll take you in, and then they'll call Border Patrol, because at that point, bro, they'll be lucky to get
apparently nobody's talked to any Border Patrol agents on this to let them know that, hey, all you're doing is lighting the way for them.
So it's a 24-hour operation now once you light the rivers, because at night it's hard for everybody to cross.
Right. And look, nobody wants anybody to come across the river unsafely. I mean, when I was in the Border Patrol,
nobody wants to come across the river
at all. You're right. You're exactly right. You're exactly right, Ro. But what I mean is that we don't want to endanger anybody, either. But at the same time, folks, all he's doing is showing them where to come. And then there's no Border Patrol agents right now in the field. They're all processing. So what's going to happen? The National Guard, DPS, there's going to be a welcome committee. They're going to escort them up on our side. And then with all this talk about going to D.C., there are plenty of illegal aliens that we would apprehend that, I want to go to D.C. That's my final point of destination. So now they got a further ride, a free ride at taxpayers' expense, escorted, I'm assuming, by the National Guard or DPS to get over there and then dropped off on the steps of the Capitol. Yeah. And what's that going to prove?
Well, and it's what's that going to do? Look, whether they're bused to Timbuktu, Michigan, or any other state capital, Delaware, even Biden's hometown or whatever. Look, folks, this is going to incur taxpayer expenses. Yeah. I mean, this is not about gimmicks. This is not about political ploys. And even on the right side of the spectrum, people are saying, what a foolish idea for us to bust these people into the country and incur more expenses on the American taxpayer. This should not be the way. They should be doing is going to an embassy in their country, American embassy, the adjacent countries, or presenting themselves at the U.S. border ports of entry. Yep. They should not be crossing legally. But the thing about the other thing that he also said, guys, was that there would be tactically prepared, trained DPS troopers at the river also, to prevent against cartel violence. Look, the cartels right now, the last thing they want is a firefight with American law.
Yeah, it only disrupts their flow of making money.
Yeah, right. They wanted to keep going. I honestly just had a fleeting thought, and some folks have brought it up in conversation, that perhaps those are actually intended to keep Americans and Texans away from those border regions.
Like people like us going over there and filming and showing what's going on.
Which, by the way, we're going to do today. We'll roll out there because we're going to go to the non-government organization here, and we're going to show you if they've got buses there. They've got buses there every day, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And we're going to show you that those buses are, the non-government organization, probably, funded by the federal government. And as we watch them leave, you just have to replace those with buses that the governor wants to, submit. But here's the other thing. So we always keep trashing on what's happening here, but there's a simple solution here. We have refused, Frank and Manny, to act like Texans. And, here we are, the border guys, right? Born and raised, either lived here in Del Rio for many years. We made this our home. I'm down the road in Medina County, beautiful Medina County. And what we're saying here is, look, you can't, we've got to stop at the gimmicks. And so what's the solution here? And it's really simple. It's the U.S. Constitution. They've got this thing down there that says if we're being invaded and the federal government can't do anything about it, and in this case, they won't do anything about it, and particularly in this case, guys, they have purposely broken down the policy set in place by the last administration, the Trump administration, that really kept things in check around here. Mexico stopped everybody from coming over the border, probably because at that time Donald J. Trump had said, look, you're going to lose a lot of money, and we're going to start doing a lot of things with all these imports that come across if you don't stop this mess. And they did it. They stopped. We have $254 billion of commerce that happens between the state of Texas that comes across on the border, and mostly down there in Laredo, but here in Del Rio as well. And so we need to start leveraging that with Mexico. But the biggest thing here is if we've got to declare an invasion before Title 42 goes away. Because once we do that, and it can happen with executive order or let's legislate, and this is where I call on Dan Patrick. The most powerful man in Austin right now is Dan Patrick. But instead of pushing solutions, he's out pushing a guy that's a very liberal. We all know Senator Pete Flores. When he announced there's no way in hell we're just going to let him roll into the Senate. We have to bring in conservative constitutional Christians into the Senate and start acting like we can solve this, because we can. It's real simple. The Texas Constitution has a solution, and so does, because there's an invasion clause in there as well.
Yes.
But somehow we don't want to use that. And so what I've decided is we're going to, we're running for the Senate, but we're going to use our run all the way to 24 May to bring this to the attention of the Texas people here, because it's important. If you've noticed, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, none of these folks are showcasing the border issue. In fact, they're all locked in step with Ukraine. And it's funny how they want you to see Ukraine as the biggest problem. And look, no doubt that we are on the brink of some kind of horrific thing that's happening out between Russia and the Ukraine, and the U.S. is involved. But the problem in the invasion is right down here on the southern border, and we've got to start to act like we can solve it, because we can. Texas has rights. It has a sovereign right to protect itself, to defend itself. And here's the travesty. Every other week, we get children that are drowning on the Rio Grande.
Yep.
Every day there's...
Where's AOC crying about that?
Where's anybody decrying that? And then we've got young ladies, babies that are getting raped and mutilated because they get taken advantage on the route all the way up to the border. And then once they get past here, they're being used as sex slaves in large cities. Texas is the number one, literally, human trafficking and sex slaves capital of the world now, which is a shame. And let me tell you, because, we're all Christian here, but God's not going to bless Texas if we keep doing this. Go ahead, Frank.
No, go ahead. And so look,
what I'm saying is we have got to act. And as a senator, if you send me to Austin, we're done with the cookie cutter politics. You cannot just get along, play along to go along. We have got to, if we're going to fight Democrats, we have to stop giving them chairmanship positions, which is what Texas Republicans have been doing. And we have got to start acting like we really don't want anybody to mess with Texas, especially the federal government. Because right now we have abdicated, and I've heard you say this plenty of times, Frank, we have abdicated our sovereignty to the federal government. We are no longer Texas like we used to be. If the border can be abused the way it is, children, women are being abused, they're dying out here. And then, of course, the road into Houston and all the way to places like Boston are filled with tragedies as well. Because if you just look at down there in South Texas, we had a mom and a daughter got killed by, I think, an illegal alien was either drunk.
Driving a carload full of people.
Right, exactly. And then if you look at Carrizo Springs and all these other places, filled with car chase after car chase right down the road in Kenny County. If you look at Burnett County up there, there's plenty of white buses that are traversing up there as well. If you don't think this can't happen in places like Llano and Lampasas in the heart of the hill country, it's coming our way, and we've got to start to fight that now. So this is why we're here. We're going to go out to the border today. Maybe Manny and Frank will join us, but you'll see us out there to show you the buses that are where they're literally ramping off from the river into the NGOs and into the Texas country.
And what you were talking about earlier, Raul, about a lot of money being lost, with all these people coming across, all these illegal aliens coming across. Once Title 42 is lifted, folks, the primary illegal alien that's been affected by this are Mexicans, right? So they've been sent back, and Hondureños and some Guatemaltecos have been sent back as well. And we got word that there's more than like 40,000, I think, on the other side waiting for Title 42 to be lifted so they can come on over. But folks, a lot of people don't realize that their monies do not stay here in this country. right? A lot of them are gonna come over here. They're gonna work. They're gonna find these jobs, and a lot of them are gonna use false documentation to get over here and whatnot. A lot of them are gonna be involved in sex and human trafficking once they get over here. But this is why you don't hear Mexico, crying about anything, right? Saying no, you guys shouldn't go across. No, a lot of times the government of Mexico encourages them.
Yeah.
To come over illegally.
So let me jump in on this, man, because folks, we got to peel back the layers of all this. All the flag waving, great. We're all for patriots, but look, we've got to think. We've got to use critical thinking, critical analysis here. Don't just be a mindless robot and just follow the narratives that are being shoved down your throat. You got to think about it. Manny, you touched on it when you talk about money. Why is this happening? Why in a state, Texas, that's been controlled by Republicans for multiple
20 years,
terms?
20 years.
Why are we even talking about, no action on gender modification? Why do we have to fight tooth and nail, like Rachel Malone, Gun Owners of America, and others for constitutional carry? Folks, they use the media, they use the stories, narratives. It's propaganda. They use it, some truth, some lies sprinkled with some truth, makes it more palatable, makes it easier for you to swallow. So you got to drill down. And so there's a lot of money that's involved in this. One of the other things that Governor Abbott brought up was that they were going to do inspections, commercial traffic inspections, for safety reasons. That's what we hammered him on last summer. Remember, we talked last summer about getting Mexico to the table to do something, to stem the Haitian invasion in Mexico. Last year, we were talking about it. Governor Abbott's now talking about doing that. And look, it's going to be a flop because the effectiveness of it, it's going to wear off. If he even does it, look, we've learned already, man, with Abbott, the attorney, there's always going to be some loophole in there that you could drive a busload full of illegal aliens through. So the safety inspections are almost a year too late. He should have been doing them last year because with Title 42 not being renewed, even if Mexico is on board, bro, you're still going to get such a tidal wave of humanity coming across from the Mexicans who now can come in with no Title 42 in place because Title 42 was keeping them at bay, was allowing the Border Patrol to remove them immediately. As a matter of fact, talking to our friends in the patrol, whenever they brought in a group of people, the first ones that they got out of the way were the Mexicans and the OTMs that were being taken out of the country because you cleared out the room, you got rid of them, and so instead of having 1,000 people in custody, you now had 600-700 because you got rid of those immediately. Now you're gonna have to keep everybody in custody, and then there's some interesting and disturbing news that's coming out, folks. That the Del Rio sector has been targeted. It's the focal point on the border. Some of the dynamics that are at work here with DHS, ICE, Border Patrol, CBP, some of these dynamics that play in this sector are not happening. California, Arizona, New Mexico. There's some.
So this is the weakest spot here. But Frank, I want to take you back to something you said, and I want to address here too is. About 3 or 4 days ago, Dan Patrick came out with this laundry list of this is the things we're going to tackle. And there's sort of legislative priorities is what they are. The one thing that's not on there, now this is just a first draft. I'm sure there's going to be others, so we'll, in defense of Dan Patrick somewhat. But it's unique to see that if you look at that first list, gender modification policies or legislation is not on there. And, if you were tracking Alan West and Don Huffines and Prather, what we learned during the campaign is that Abbott and Dan Patrick, and who's the other one, maybe Dave Phelan, took money from people who don't want to put this on the legislative priorities because it is a legislative priority. Well, the same thing goes to the border. Look, there's not going to be any action on the border because the question now is, are our elected leaders, and I'm asking the question, and we're going to find out, have they taken money from these non-government organizations like Endeavors? Endeavors is a huge non-government organization based out of San Antonio. Tony Gonzalez, your good friend, is in bed with them, right? And these are the people that are moving illegal aliens across the border. and or the buses, and they've got big asylum shelters in places like Pecos, Texas, which, by the way, we're going to go, because I want you to see what happens when you elect someone like Senator Pete Flores. He's left he's wreaked havoc. So all this is either Dan Patrick or Greg Abbott setting up Senate District 24, in my opinion, for further invasion of illegal aliens. Because how do you soften things up is you get a senator that isn't going to fight for you. And so for folks who look at Raul Reyes and Manny and Frank, I get a lot of criticism for being the pissed off guy or just very upset guy. And of course, we've had this.
I prefer the term righteous indignation.
Righteous indignation.
I call it passion.
Passion. But listen, it's not just Del Rio. My hometown is Castroville, Texas. I love places like Burnett, Lampasas. I mean, these are all wonderful hill country places. We've all visited, up 16, and it turns into 281, stays west of Austin, and of course, Bexar County and Comal. This is the beautiful hill country. But it's not just the only place, folks. You go out to Texarkana, you go out to Amarillo. They're doing this everywhere, and somebody has to say something. And it's very unbecoming-like, is what I get told, of a senator to go to Austin. We don't have time for those protocols. Texas is on fire. It's being invaded, and our leaders are doing nothing. So you have to ask yourself, okay, are these real Republicans, or do we have rhinos, or are they just infiltrated Democrats? One's trying to be president of the United States. That's Greg Abbott. I'm not sure what Dan Patrick is doing, but they've sought the hounds of evil after us, because there's nothing we can say about the border. We get criticized for everything, but we're not going to stop. We're going to just keep telling the truth here.
And when I heard Governor Abbott's. When I read his announcement about busing all these illegal aliens to Washington, D.C., it reminded me when he came down here to Del Rio and just got everybody excited. I'm going to build a wall. Everybody cheered. And then
we were here.
Yeah.
We were here.
And then he left, and then he quietly says, okay, but it's going to be like this. It's the same thing. He uses these buzzwords like you were saying earlier, Frank. Now he says they're going to be tactically prepared or technically.
The DPS, they're going to be.
So these words get people all excited. Like they're going to be able to do something. Folks, they're not going to be able to do anything except escort them to Border Patrol. Yeah. And then all Border Patrol is going to be able to do is just release them. I want to play a quick video before we go, because one of the things that's been bothering me a lot of time talking to a lot of these agents is that they're getting a lot of flack from a lot of citizens. Like, why don't you guys just leave them alone? They're all family units that are coming across. These are families that need help. These are families that are in trouble in their countries. Folks, let me show you a video real quick that was taken in Eagle Pass South. And maybe you let me know if they look like family units to you. This is a holding area, the processing Sallyport area, Eagle Pass South. Look, I don't see one single family unit. Matter of fact, the word I got is all these men were above 20 years of old, military-aged men that were about to be released into the communities. I mean, that's hundreds of them, right? And this is happening daily, folks, daily in our country, daily here in Del Rio, daily here in Eagle Pass, Carrizo Springs, RGV sector, all the way to El Paso sector. Throughout, over 7,000 plus a day are coming across. Title 42 goes, they're looking at over 18,000 coming across per day.
Yeah,
500,000 per month.
Let me jump in here as a former retired Air Force lieutenant colonel who worked out of U.S. Southern Command in places like Colombia and the Northern Triangle. I traversed all of it, and let me tell you something. The Zetas, MS-13. When I look at that video, and it's it's military-aged men, what I see is that these folks are coming in and they're going to try to take over the cocaine, heroin, fentanyl routes that have existed in this country, either the La M, which is the Mexican mafia, or the Italian mob. It doesn't matter. Historically the U.S. has had different syndicates across the country. When I see this video, what I see is what I saw down in places like Central and South America. When the drugs came out of Colombia and Venezuela, and they started to realize they just can't fly them from Panama into Miami or into Louisiana. If you ever seen the movie Tom Cruise, I forget what the title of that is, but they would fly these small airplanes. We were the guys chasing those bad guys, and what we saw was a convergence of started to mule all these drugs into Honduras, which is why Honduras became the most dangerous country in the world, bar none. Not Afghanistan, not Iraq, not anywhere but Honduras, because they had 2 to 3, sometimes 4 homicides a day. And that makes it the most dangerous place to live because you're allowed to get shot while just walking around. And so what happens is back in the early mid 2000s, all the way to 2015, what you see is this drug war that happens all the way from the Northern Triangle, all the way to the Rio Grande. And here in Del Rio, you could see it. There's a newspaper across in Acuña called the Zócalo, and you could always see these, these tragic, they were, cocaine, heroin, cartel leaders being killed, and all they were doing is juxtaposition in leadership. And so all that to say, what's happened here is all those drugs are coming through all the way up through and into our steps. And Del Rio, Frank, has become a soft target for an easy target. This is where they're routing everybody through. But when I see that video, what I see is MS-13 and Zeta, syndicate gang folks in here, and they're trying to catch everybody. But when you're getting 7,000 people a day on the border, and Texas is doing nothing, all we're doing, and we're seeing this already, crime is spiking everywhere. And it's only going to get worse. And, we're always praying against, that illegal alien that's drunk on the road or hauling more illegal aliens, right, because they're coyotes, and running into innocent people. We are putting Texas in harm's way by playing games like we're going to bust them to Washington, D.C. Believe me, if you look at the first line of the social media, statement I made is, as much as I would love to see that, because I like to sock it to Joe Biden, it is not the solution. We have real constitutional solutions. We're not putting in place, and all we're doing is we're furthering and risking the lives of Texans. And as a senator, we're not going to let that happen.
So let me jump in here, folks. You touched on what I wanted to say. All you got to do, and we all been to D.C. There's places like Reston and Manassas that are outside the D.C. Area, folks, that MS-13 and these gangs have ruled for years now. And Houston's having huge problems with this. The Dallas area, you know what I'm talking about, with these gangs out here. X amount of police versus hundreds, if not thousands of these people. Imagine that. I was this past weekend block walking in San Antonio. People are afraid to open their doors. I talked to San Antonians who said, the home invasion problem is real. They're concerned with it, as is the truck theft problem, right, which a lot of trucks are being stolen and used to run illegal alien loads out of places like Carrizo Springs and such. And so we got to get to the real, the core of the matter. Why is this happening? And I'll wrap it up this way in a sense, or I'll put it this way, folks. People say, well, you got to choose the lesser of two evils. And whether you choose the lesser of two evils, it's still evil. And so we have, politicians that are in bed, they are complicit, they are aiding and abetting. So, I've called Abbott the abdicator. Now I call him Abbott the abetter, because now he wants to push people into our country. Look, Governor Abbott, if you're watching this or if this gets to you, get a spine. And instead of those National Guardsmen and those DPS troopers, being the welcome wagon, push back, repel. If you see these people cross, then they don't have they didn't present themselves at a port of entry. So what if it causes a constitutional crisis? That is what we need. And I'll tell you what, the mayor of D.C. has already said, you're not you're not driving these people into our city limits. We're going to stop you from driving into our city limits. But yet Governor Abbott doesn't say, we're going to stop you from coming into our state.
A liberal leftist mayor stands up to the governor of Texas.
It shuts it all down.
It shuts it all down.
And shuts it down. Let me just say this real quick, guys. Look, folks, you got to dig down past the rah-rah cheerleading speeches, past the narratives, keep it red and vote Republican. Folks, they are using you. They're playing you. They think that you are stupid. They think that you're mindless sheeple, to add another here to the menagerie of animals that I've already called out. They think you're sheeple and that you're just going to do, whatever they tell you to do. Look, folks, it's time to get smart about what is happening on our border. Do your research. Don't just, look at it and just, ignore it, because it's going to come home to roost someday in your community and God forbid in your house.
But here's a tough situation as well. I'm going to interrupt you. Here's a tough situation as well because you got Abbott doing all this stuff that he's failing over here at the border. But then you got O'Rourke that's running for governor as well. And I told you, don't ever vote Democrat. So we need to hold Abbott's feet to the fire on this. Declare an invasion, Governor Abbott.
Yep.
Declare an invasion.
Article 1, Section 10.
That's right. We have a constitution. And we don't need D.C. to keep dictating zero enforcement of border policy.
Well, and the solution's right there in the Senate. Look, folks, I know there's a lot of folks that like Dan Patrick because he's driving around that funky F-U-N-K-Y, funky little truck. I actually would love to have that. And but he's one of the most powerful guys in Austin, and he's pushing on Senate District 24, Pete Flores, failed Senator Pete Flores, who couldn't beat a Democrat. And so, we're the reason, guys, they don't like Raul Reyes is because we're very terse about these things, and we don't typically follow protocols. And I've exposed Pete for who he is. He's a Democrat. He's really a South Texas.
Endorsed by Liberty Initiative.
Yeah. So, and that's another key thing here because even the congressman of this district of 23, which overlaps in places like Medina County, Tony Gonzalez, who has taken thousands of dollars from the Libre PAC, Libre, for anybody who wants. And by the way, we have a website. We'll announce that here. So anybody who questions, what sources I'm putting out. I was called a liar by Dan Patrick and Don Buckingham. Yeah. So I put a website together because we source everything. We didn't do 22 years. You guys aren't 30-year-plus Border Patrol agents retired to all of a sudden get on this platform where you're going to get persecuted to make up lies. That's not what we're doing here. We're simply trying to expose the tactics by which for 30 years we ended up in a place where we have no control of our border, zero, and we have a governor and a lieutenant governor who seem to not be able to solve this problem. And if they don't have the solution, then send us to the Senate so we can throw political elbows and make it happen. And this is why we're using every platform, Manny and Frank. I appreciate you guys having me here on board. There is a solution for Texans to do something. It's no longer at the federal government. For anybody who looks at anybody and says this is a federal issue, you don't understand the Constitution, you don't understand the Texas Constitution, and you've lost your cojones, and you need to go grab some from somewhere and start acting like Texans. Now, we're not advocating for violence. What we're advocating is for the U.S. Constitution to be utilized fully, but Texas has to declare that it is a sovereign state. Right. Florida seems to be doing a fantastic thing. By the way, it's a horrible time to own a Ford. You mentioned earlier, my pickup truck was stolen, Frank, and we had this conversation back in January. We didn't announce it, but I'll say it here. And they literally found it in Carrizo Springs. But the front seat was left. Everything in the back was tore out.
Oh, it's used for smuggling.
Yeah, it was for smuggling. And the county sheriff deputy who gave me the information said, it was running back and forth at 2 or 3 in the morning, and then they run it into the brush where they pick up illegal aliens, and then so the truck's all scratched up, and then finally when they did a final car chase, they ran it into a big mesquite tree out there in the brush country, and the truck is gone. So we've all been affected, even myself. Being on the campaign, we got our truck stolen out of northern San Antonio. You can't go to San Antonio, you can't go to Austin with a nice truck because they're likely to take it and use it down here in South Texas. And so everybody's going to get impacted in some form or fashion. Our taxes are going up. So when I hear buses to take them to D.C., we've got to pay people plus gas, and guess what? Your property taxes are going to go even further up. And so...
And we know this governor hasn't really mentioned anything about reducing property taxes throughout the whole campaign. That's a whole other subject. But I just want to touch upon real quick.
Yep.
We showed that video earlier about all those military-aged men, folks. I don't know if people realize, guys, that MS-13 actually started here in the United States with illegal aliens from El Salvador, Honduras, and all that area of Central America, and then they got deported. Folks, all they've been wanting to do is get back here. That's all they've been wanting to do. They started out over here. They were founded here in the United States. They got deported. The majority were illegal aliens. They got deported back to El Salvador, and then they multiplied. They multiplied into one of the most dangerous gangs over there in Central America. Now they're one of the most dangerous gangs here in America, and all they want to do is come back. And guess what? Now you see all these military-aged men. That a lot of them are from El Salvador, from that area, being released. The government wants to bust them exactly to the places where they want to go, where
And
they
so
were
that,
trying to get to.
we both worked out of D.C., man. I'm sure, Raul, you were up there as
I
well.
was, yeah.
The Ronald Reagan building up there, on Pennsylvania Avenue. You go out there, it was little Guatemala, it was little El Salvador, all over the place out there. They're all over. And so you're right, they want to come back. But look, let me tell you something, folks. So we're talking about solutions. Ted Budd, a congressman out of North Carolina, had to submit a bill to finish building Trump's wall. A guy from North Carolina.
Not our congressman.
Not our congressman, Tony Gonzalez, our congressman here.
started.
And that's why I'm running for Congress, against him. All he does is throw money at the problem. Why? Because he's in bed with the NGOs. He's in bed with LULAC. He's in bed with Soros. He was endorsed, supported. A bunch of mailers went out from the Libre Institute. They're all open borders amnesty. It's about the money, people. And so on one hand, you've got the cartels, our tax dollars are being given to these NGOs. They're printing money like crazy. That's part of the reason we have inflation. But that seems to be the solution, guys, is throw money at the problem.
So
that's just, it's a temporary solution.
Yeah.
We need real action items.
And it's funny, Frank, because we keep saying this Libre PAC, and folks,
The Koch brothers.
right? This is Americans for Prosperity had an arm to it. It's the Libre, and they were trying to get Latino, Hispanic groups to come together or whatever. But we've all known here for years, Frank. It's just recently the scorecard put out that what we've already known, very much like LULAC and MALDEF, these are all his Latino organizations they're all open borders, they're socialists, they're pro-amnesty, and they endorse Pete Flores. I've got that on that website I'll give out here in a little bit. And of course, Pete Flores, denied it and said, oh, I didn't ask for this. And yet, Rafael Behar, who you ran against for the SREC, it's a Republican Party position. At the core of the Republican Party, there are these positions. Frank was a member of that, an executive member, and he ran against a guy named Rafael Behar. And so Rafael Behar was the state director for the Libre PAC. And guess who endorsed him to that state director position? Pete Flores. And so then he denies the fact that he didn't want this Libre PAC endorsement because he says, I'm not pro-amnesty. And yet in 2020, we found where he took $5,000 from the same organization. So we need to start looking at those things and exposing these people, because all they do is they go to Austin. Pete's already drank the Kool-Aid. It's going to go work for Dan Patrick. So you have to wonder, is Dan Patrick pushing the Democrat into Senate District 24? Does he not know these things, or are they so good friends that he really just wants a puppet? It's really all that is. Yeah. And if you track back to a guy named Tony Gonzalez here on this district, that guy is in bed with the NGOs up to his eyeballs. Now, let me just add this. Everything we're seeing here is as if you had a busted sewer line in your house, and it's at your ankles and it's coming up to your knees, and instead of fixing the pipe, we're raising the ceiling. Yeah. You see, because Tony Gonzalez, along with John Cornyn and Henry Gued, and I don't know who the senator in Arizona was, a Democrat. Sinema. They propose more asylum shelters. Well, guess what? They're bringing more asylum shelters to South Texas, but they're going to do it into Senate District 24 and to all these other places that are red. Because why? They want to convert it to blue, and the way they do it is bringing in more illegal aliens. So people are going to ask, so you just said Dan Patrick is purposely trying to turn Texas blue. I think that a lot of our elected leaders are in bed with people with money who maybe want more workers. But if you look at that video that Manny showed earlier, not all of those people are out to mow your lawn. They're out here to push fentanyl, that the Chinese are delivering the liquids, the chemicals that are needed to bake the stuff right there at the coast of Mexico.
And real quick, a lot of people ask, well, can't they investigate all these people and vet these people? Folks, they're being overwhelmed. Yeah. Border Patrol agents don't have the ability to vet everyone anymore. They're getting so many fraudulent families that are coming across now. The people posing as families are getting sex offenders that are coming through, but they can't vet everybody.
Well, and if max capacitor is about 1,700, and we always, about 1,700 people on the border, we're at 7,000, so they're already overwhelmed, which is why all the Border Patrol agents are now doing administratively processing people as fast as they can. They're no longer out in the field that I'm aware of. And what happens when Title 42 goes away, we're looking at 17 to 20,000. That's almost 2.5 times what the overcapacity is. The next thing we're going to see is Greg Abbott offering DPS and the Guard to actually start processing people. Now, there's a legal reason why they can't do that, because you have to be an immigration officer to do that.
So should I foresee camps coming over here?
Yeah, right.
So let me jump in here real quick. So many things here, guys. Look, once again, sticking with the animal theme here today. The way that these people see America, you got folks that see America as a cash cow, just a way to make money, get rich. And so that's what a lot of establishment rhino Republicans, infiltrators in the Republican Party, like Tony Gonzalez, who's a Soros puppet, that's the way they see America. It's just a cash cow. Let's all get rich off of it. But you need to look at this. Look at the patterns or the impact of migration. Migration takes a huge role to play. You want to look at the downfall of the Roman Empire, the Roman civilization. It was because of migration. It had to do with that. You look at California. Why California?
Illegal mass migration.
Yes, and so war pushed these people groups around. Whenever you want to change the dynamics, the geopolitical, sphere, you push people around, whether it's through poverty, disease, famine, or war, like we see in the Ukraine right now taking place. Tony Gonzalez goes in August over there. Lo and behold, we got a war breaks out, and of course, people start showing up over here at our borders. I have no doubt that if we dig down deep enough, his fingers are in there because Soros is involved. He has his, foundation in the Ukraine and Kyiv, where Tony Gonzalez was at. But anyways, look, it's about pushing people around and moving them around, resettlement, which is all these NGOs are doing. Folks, we are watching the downfall of our civilization. We're watching the downfall of America, and we better act in decisive ways. I'm not calling out for violence. We have a constitution. We just have to follow it, right? A legal process. We have to enact it. We have to implement the powers that it gives us. And what they're trying to do, Raul and Manny, is to Texas is what they did to California. Yeah. It was through illegal immigration that California went from red to blue.
Well, you have 2, even 3 recent examples here in the last 10, 15 years. You just have to look at Germany, who opened the floodgates for a lot of folks to come in and without assimilation processes. And guess what happened? Germany is now in trouble. It's losing its German culture to this just invasion of people that came over. France. If you look at France, same thing. There's places in France you can't go to anymore because Sharia law is the way
there's places in Michigan.
There's places in Michigan that's happening, and all of Europe is suffering from this invasion of because leaders, globalists, opened up the floodgates and they want to make it a one world thing. No conspiracy theories here, but what I will tell you this is the border of the United States, as it reflects right here in Texas, is on fire, and it's going to be nuclearized if Title 42 does go away and we don't act before that. Yeah. And so we need to start doing that. And again, look, start sending folks into the Senate, into the legislative body in Texas to actually do something. We are beyond waiting for the federal government to act. We do that because by law, by constitutional foundations, they're the ones that are supposed to take care of us when it comes to immigration. But if they abdicate that, or they fail to do it, or are unable to do it, and in this case, I think it's purposeful, Manny, that they're doing this, then Texas reserves, it never gave up, it never abdicated its sovereign right to defend itself. But to get that, we need people with a backbone. And this is why they don't like Raul Reyes very much, because I don't have time for the senatorial talk. What we need is solutions. We need to be able to tell people, we have a problem down here. We're going to show it to you when we get down to the non-government organization. I'm sure there'll be plenty of buses there. And all you have to do is replace those buses with Texas buses. And we just got into the business of moving illegal aliens for the federal government.
As I documented earlier this week, folks, last week, Texas Emergency Management Division was down there at our local NGO, as was the city manager, who's the former, emergency management director for the city, the county. And so they're getting ready for it. Look, once again, going back to the animals, we've got the Republican elephant, but you know what I see, Raul and Manny, is a bunch of jackals. You know, and one jackal against an elephant, it ain't gonna do much. But you get a whole bunch of them in there, and they just jump on it and they start tearing it down. That's what's happening to the Republican Party. We're all Republicans here. We vote that way. The reason I'm running against Tony Gonzalez as an independent is because of the other factor. You say, you know, you got to elect people. Look, into these offices. We saw the primary slaughter of grassroots conservative America First patriots. We saw it. There's something going on with those elections. There's no way Dan Crenshaw, of all people, freaking traitor Dan, gets reelected with the overwhelming numbers that he did. There's something. We look at our friend Bianca Gracia. What happened to her in Senate District 11?
Yeah.
You know, the way that she has 12,000 votes, then boom, at the end of the night she's got 4,000. What's up with that? You know, there's something afoot here, folks. And people were saying, well, what are you saying? Don't vote for Abbott or anything. Look, I'm saying learn, people. Learn from history. Don't get played anymore. Because what we see here is the bringing down of the elephant, the Republican Party. It's happening right before your eyes. It's been infiltrated. So out in Senate District 24, where Raul is at, you're going to have to vote for this man. And I'll make a plug here for myself. I'm running in 23 against Tony Gonzalez because we have uncovered what's going on. This is a globalist agenda. It started happening with the Bushes, started them pushing their people through. Bush is on record. You know, he's open borders. He's a pro-amnesty guy. People, we cannot stress enough to you what is happening to our country. Invasion, illegal immigration, resettlement of people leads to downfall when it is not controlled, when your borders are not secure, when your sovereignty is not being defended. That's what causes the downfall of nations. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, and we're being flooded with illegal aliens. So people, it's like, don't California my Texas. They're trying to California the entire United States, and they're using Texas as just a doormat to get in here. And it's right here in places like Del Rio, Eagle Pass, and Presidio.
And the sad thing is our governor is allowing it.
Yeah, and look, I'm a hardcore Republican, constitutional conservative, unabashedly Christian, and the Republican Party, its current elected officials, leaders, doesn't like a guy like me, because we're not pushing people to the hard right. We're pushing people to the pragmatic, constitutional right. And as long as you leave the Texas doors wide open for Joe Biden to do whatever, you're either in bed with Joe Biden, or you've turned in your Republican card.
Or you're afraid.
Or you're afraid, and you're looking to be the president at the expense of a lot of babies that are drowning right out here in the Rio Grande. Texans who are every time they hit the streets or when they're driving around with their children, are potentially in harm's way because we have had car chase after car chase, bailout after bailout. And by the way, this is going to come all the way up to places like Austin, into Bell, Coryell. You look up in Texarkana and Amarillo. These things are already happening out there. You cannot have this many people come into the country.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you when I was in the Border Patrol. I cannot tell you how many people and smugglers we would apprehend out of Bell County. And it was amazing to me. Sugarland as well.
Yeah, down in the Houston area.
Yeah, down in Houston area. They're huge. It's a huge destination for illegal aliens. And so I tell you, folks, you got to hold Governor Abbott's feet to the fire.
And Dan Patrick, folks, let me tell you something. Dan Patrick doesn't like a guy like me and doesn't want me in the Senate because we were going to blow the doors wide open about why we're doing business the way we're doing. Everything that comes out of the Senate seems very conservative, but if you think that it's purposeful, it goes over into the House and Dade Phelan and the committees kill it. We had Peter Flores say I'm a liar because what I did was I accused him of not supporting a bill that would, when he was a senator, that would help control and get rid of some of these things provided to you by Kyle Biederman, a representative. Well, he would never meet with a guy like Kyle Biederman, and he got on board with the bill just in time, Frank, because he knew that right about the time he co-sponsored that the bill was dead anyway. And these are the politics that get played in Austin. We do not have time for this. Our taxes are too damn high. Our border is completely wide open. Our children are being indoctrinated. Our elections are definitely not secure. And I don't know why we reduced the penalties from felony to misdemeanors, because if you send me there, we're going to push for that to make sure that happens. And we can go on and on and on. And you would think, guys, you would think the Democrats are running the show in Austin. So we definitely have a uniparty system down there. And I'm a large critic of anybody who won't secure this border, our elections, and stop indoctrinating our kids, because parents no longer have rights. You have to go into the board districts to fight these. Now, the good news, there's a groundswell of parents that are coming on board. We're asking you to support us for Senate District 24. I will certainly legislate to help you and get things done, because enough is enough. And for everybody who looks at this today, and if you've heard me speak in public, it's righteous indignation. And I could use the other word, because I'm telling you, we're really upset about what's happening here. And they look at folks like us and say, oh, these guys are just outcasts. These guys are they're far out there. How far out there is it when your borders are completely open and your governor offers to bus people to D.C. with no real recourse of a solution? And so, we're here. We're here to throw some hard balls at anybody. Democrats, we got to stop voting for those people. They're socialists and communists. But we have an elitist country club of set of Republicans down in Austin who have no spine, are either Democrats or definitely rhinos, or don't have the will to do the right thing. And we're going to stop that.
And how do we know that? Because all you have to do is ask the question, where are they? Where are they? Tony Gonzalez keeps posting these photo ops. The other day he posted a photo op with McCarthy.
I haven't seen Peter Flores come on board. In fact, let me tell you something. Let me return the favor here. Tim Westy ought to be a guy for all my Darrell friends and everybody who is from, who's part of our coalition of organizations, because, here's what people don't know, and Frank and Manny understand this. We have a lot of folks that have, for a couple of years now, as we've been trying to secure this border, we've been activists. A lot of folks in the South Texas that know us. If you can hear me, what I'm telling you, Tim Wesley is the guy we have to support for land commissioner. Don Buckingham doesn't even know where the border is, because I've never seen her here. Neither has Pete Flores, who's the former senator, who's my opponent, the incumbent pretty much, who didn't do anything. The reason Del Rio's on fire, Kenny County's on fire, Medina County's on fire, the southern part of the Texas District 19 is on fire, is because that's the wake of destruction we leave when you hire
on fire in a bad way.
In a bad way, because we have car chases, bailouts, and of course our borders are completely wide open, and then they have the audacity to question us for questioning them about being pro-amnesty, because that's really what the inroads here is. Yeah. And they've all been bought out, Frank, every single one of them. And so we're here to throw down against any of this, because we're Texans. Yep. We're Texans, and we love this state. We can make it better, but if we're going to keep it from going blue, this is the election to do it. Other than that, we're going to suffer the consequences of weak leadership in Austin and a bunch of other senators and legislators who won't stand up against Dan Patrick, because he is the most powerful guy. And by the way, he's been calling a whole lot of folks in my district, Senate District 24, telling them that if you get on board with Raul, you'll never pass another legislative priority through the Senate. Hey, powerful men do that, but we also can expose that, and that's what we're doing here. So
look, folks, we're talking here, and you've heard us. Our heart, our passion is for America, is for our state, for our sovereignty, for the defense of our children, our future. That's what we're doing. So right now, it's a time for courageous people, guys. It's a time for warrior spirits. It's a time for people that are willing to, be a John the Baptist. John the Baptist went out into the wilderness. He preached the truth, proclaimed the truth, and for that he was beheaded. We're willing to be that person that goes up front, is in the military the point man. He's the guy that's walking at the front of that file as they make their way through the jungle, willing to take the bullet. Why? Because it's got to get done. And so we need the hearts of warriors, and keeping in line with a theme here this morning, at least for me, guys, we need warriors with the hearts of lions, people whose passion, whose patriotism roars. And I'll tell you what, lions can coexist with the elephants. They do that often. At times, they'll feed on the elephant, on the weak elephant.
Well, I want to bring in just a little bit of something here, because and let me know the 20 seconds here or less just to bring a different angle here. You know, I keep hearing, the Republican Party going after South Texas to get away from the Democrats, because in large part, South Texas has been voting Democrat for a long time. And I'm going to say it here for a second. You know, it is a largely culturally Hispanic Texan that lives in South Texas on the border. And what's happened here is, the Republican Party keeps saying, no, we need those Texans to walk away from the Democrat Party. Let me say this, I would encourage that as well, but let's walk away to the correct and the right Republican leadership. I consider myself that, not Pete Flores. And the Republican Party, led right now by Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick, better realize something. Those Texans aren't going to be able to distinguish between Democrats and Republicans as you lead Texas right now, because you haven't closed the border, you haven't brought any jobs down to South Texas or into any part of Central or West Texas. It's all going up to I-35 while you turn Texas blue. Our elections are a mess. You dropped the felony penalties to misdemeanors, and everybody's asking what happened there. Our kids are being indoctrinated. Now, kudos to Governor Abbott just recently with TEA. They came out with some new policies. We've looked at them. It looks like maybe that might work, but we've got to legislate that. You just can't talk about that. And so as you can see, I can be fair, but I'm also going to be very critical about a Republican Party that keeps calling folks in South Texas to stop voting Democrat, yet we can't tell the difference anymore. Because how do you vote for a Republican Party that won't secure its borders, its elections, stop indoctrinating kids? And here's the most important part. You won't abolish abortion. You send me to the Senate, we're going to push to abolish abortion because it's a plank. It's one of the biggest planks for the Republican Party. And it's critical to Texans that we stop doing that, because God will bless Texas if we act boldly in a Christian, godly way to bring Texas back to the right side of where we need to be. Right now, we're trending California like I've never seen it before, and we're being used as a doormat for the rest of America to go that way. And we'll see more Joe Bidens get elected, not because that's what we want, but because people are going to stop voting Republican. They won't vote Democrat, but they're going to stop voting Republican if we don't do anything about it. And that's the alarm I'm sending here, Manny and Frank.
And folks, the Democrats and the rhinos, they're on a mission. They're on a mission, you don't want to think, and I don't want to think that they're on a mission to completely destroy this country, but it sure seems that way.
It sure seems that way. And we're here. We're the lions that are ready to roar, and we're going to keep roaring. We make no apologies for it. I don't. And if you send me to the Senate, we'll work with anybody who is like-minded about bringing Texas back to deep red, because that's where we need to be. Right now, we are about as blue as you can get. It's just been sugar-coated by a bunch of Republicans who are playing footsies with Democrats.
Right. And the red that they're pushing, honestly, it's a commie red, man. It's a socialist red.
It's a Tony Gonzalez red?
It's a Tony Gonzalez red, and folks, you see us here. Look, we're just, just giving it to you up front, the way it's got to be done. To some of y'all, it's a slap in the face. To some of y'all, it's a splash of cold water waking you up.
Yep.
But that's what we're trying to do. It's for the good of our state, the good of our children, and we're going to be out and about. We're not going to stop proclaiming the truth, folks. We're going to go as long as we can, like John the Baptist, until they grab a hold of us somewhere, telling you the truth that you need to hear. You need to like, share, follow, tell other folks about Raul's candidacy for Senate District 24. If you got folks in those 13 counties out there that are just to the west and northwest of San Antonio and Austin up there, you need to tell them about his candidacy. He's in a runoff, and I'm trying to gather my 500 signature. I call him Frank's 500 signatures, so that I can get on the November ballot. I'm walking around Valverde County, Del Rio. You all see me out here, and so I need your help with that. And we're just going to keep fighting. We're going to go down fighting. And whether it's at the state senator level, at the U.S. Congress level, we're going to be bullhorns for the people. We're going to be the people's champion. That's just the way it is, guys. It's in our nature to fight. We're proud of what our founding fathers did to create America. We're proud of what our Texan fathers did as well to establish this great state.
That's right. All three of us served this country honorably. Defended this country. Is still in my heart, still my passion. I tell my wife all the time, I could have, when I retired, I had visions of just kind of going to a lake somewhere with my RV and
we all did.
And casting a line in there and playing some fish. But folks, we have to fight for our freedom, for our sovereignty. We're at that point. I'm not here to advocate any type of violence or anything right now. But what I'm here advocating is to hold people's feet to the fire. Get Democrats and rhinos out. Put people who are able, who care about this country, who are willing, like Frank and Raul here. Vet your candidate. We always recommend, if you're going to donate directly to the candidate. Frank has a website here. We got a couple minutes before we close. Frank4CD23. You can go to his website. You can look how young he looks there. Oh man! And then hey, there's me walking through the door. I mean, that's how young I looked. And so. And then we got Raul as well. Raul still looks young. All right, so what's good? Well, Air Force. I mean, that's
Yeah,
a little bit easier.
I couldn't pitch it yet.
But you go to his
Army guys.
You go to his website as well, Reyes4Texas.com. You can get involved, folks, and go knock on some doors. Get the word out. If you're not in their district, then if you know people in their districts, shoot these websites over to them. Get to the CD23, Senate District 24. Get people involved, folks. We need to put men and women in office who are willing and able to defend the sovereignty of this nation.
Yeah, and I've got one more website here for you all. I did mention we have information on my opponent, Pete Flores, because we source everything. And in this campaign, is the case for anybody who runs a campaign, they'll call you everything under the sun. And we're certainly not liars. We are truth tellers, and we'll expose things. So if you'll type in Rhino, RINO, PeteFlores.com, you'll go to a website where I filled it in with a bunch of information that proves he's a South Texas Democrat running as a Republican, and I'm not understanding why Dan Patrick supports that, or Don Buckingham for that matter. So you want to turn Senate District 24, go vote for Pete Flores. If you really want to fight for Texas and keep Senate District 24 as staunchly conservative and red, don't vote with your wallet. Vote for the Constitution, both the U.S. and the Texas Constitution, and go elect Raul Reyes May 24th. Early voting starts 16 to 20 May, and so we're asking for your vote. God bless you guys. I appreciate that.
And I just got to say this, guys. Look, as you go forward into your day, the rest of this week, just keep this in mind. Keep two things in mind: that we are in a fight for our survival, and there's three kinds of people that are involved: the globalist, socialist folks, the greedy people that are selling out our country, and patriots, lions like you and I, that know what needs to be done, that see the truth. We can't keep quiet about it. We got to act. And so I'm asking for your help here. If you're in the Valverde area, I need your signature. If you are registered to vote and did not vote in the May primary, I need you to get a hold of me. And you can go to my webpage. You can instant message me. You got my phone number. Get with somebody's got my phone number. I need that. The other thing is, I just want to say this. Look, life is full of problems. There's storms. There's crisis that comes into our lives. We all go through them, whether it's relational, health, financial. Jesus died on the cross so that we could have a relationship with him. And he came off that cross, and he was buried, and he rose again. And he ascended into heaven, but he sent his Holy Spirit to help us. He's given us his word, and the fervent prayer of a righteous man does great things. It avails. It's a partnership with God.
Amen.
And no matter what's going on, guys, prayer before the holy God, the creator of the universe, will open and close doors according to his will. So no matter what you're going through today, lean on God. And in time, his time, he will come through. He never fails. He will come through.
Amen.
Amen to that.
Amen. And then this week, of course, this weekend begins Pesach, Passover. So I want to say Hag Pesach Sameach, happy Passover to all those who observe Passover like me. And of course, many observe Sunday as
Easter Sunday.
And so this is a time, a sacred time, a holy time, for many people. But it's also a time to spread the good news of Yeshua HaMashiach, the one who gave his life for us, so that we could have life and life eternal. Amen.
And so, Manny, let's just put a plug in for you, brother, because this weekend you're having an event right here.
Yep, this weekend we're observing. We celebrate Pesach, Passover. So we will be streaming it. It is a congregational service, but if you want to look at it, we'll put the link up on here on Talk About It Live. It's Baruch Hashem Assembly here in Del Rio, Texas.
Yep.
And if you've never seen a Messianic Jewish Passover, how it reveals the Messiah, then you're in for a wonderful, beautiful blessing, because it's a time of celebration as we celebrate the one who gave his life for us, who is our Passover Lamb. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Well, I want to say God bless you all. Thank you so much for joining us, Old Patrol Headquarters. Thank you so much for having us on, as well as we got Frank, U.S. Border Patrol Patriot, U.S. Border Patriot now as we stream on there. Raul, thank you so much for being here. We really,
Thanks
really
for having me, guys. I appreciate it, and God bless everybody in Yeshua as well.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And God bless you. God bless America, and God bless Texas.